Neerja, you started as a content specialist, right? And today you are a CEO and co-founder at Analytics. Can you just walk us through this journey? What motivated you to take these transitions and, land here?
Right. Yes, I mean, I started out as an instructional content writer, and that was primarily owing to my love for the language and my creative bent of mind. So that seemed to be the right career stream. And with e-learning boom at that time, and large multinationals like GE, they were setting their captive learning units in India, and that's actually where I got introduced to very structured, process-driven environments. And I mean, that instilled in me, and that actually taught me that it's not just about getting things done; it's about getting things done right every time, right? That's what you learn there. And then as I kind of progressed in my roles, I moved into operations. I realized that service delivery and ops excellence is where my forte was, and I was thriving. So earlier I was organizing content, and now I was organizing teams and processes, to kind of deliver these large implementations and programs. And further in my career, I got like I was into consulting, and that gave me to another exposure to another angle, which was solutioning,
Mhm.
understanding a client's pain points and giving solutions. So, and somewhere, I did have that thing within me to start something of my own at some point. And here I am, today as a co-founder of Analytics. I'm trying to bring together all that structure, execution, creativity together and trying to deliver something meaningful for our clients.
Wow. And Neerja, what are those biggest key differences, right? When you work with Accenture, when you work with GE, right? And when you actually work in your own startup, I understand, you would have that kind of aspiration that we can replicate exactly as is with respect to processes at least. But as a startup, you are on the toes pretty much all the time, right? So what are those primary differences that you actually see every day and you aspire that even you wish to be there as soon as possible?
No, I mean, absolutely. They are two different worlds, definitely. However, there are some commonalities which I can talk about. I mean, first of all, it's like when you're working for a multinational, it's like, you are navigating with a map.
Right.
But when you're in a startup, you are kind of creating your own map while
Exactly.
you're steering the ship, you know. And I mean, talking specifically, a multinational is like a well-oiled machine. There are set processes, there is structure, there is predictability. There are a lot of people. There's safety net. Even things go wrong, there's a safety net, and there are very carved out roles and responsibilities. But I think in startup world, you are lean. You have to be lean, and as you rightly said, you have to be on your toes. You have to be agile, and you have to be agile and yet deliver quality.
Right.
Because if even for once you go out in the market with a bad product, you cannot recover from it because you don't have a brand name to fall back on, right? And secondly, then you have to be on your toes for finding the right product market fitment all the time. You have to innovate every day to stay ahead of competition, you
Right.
know. So yeah, I mean it's a different world. But one thing in the startup world which is very close, which I love, is that it's a very mission-driven culture. So it's a very close-knit uh, tribe, and everybody is invested in achieving that goal, and every time you have a win, everybody celebrates. So it's a very exhilarating feeling. You
Right.
kind of have that sense of purpose. So that's really good about it. And yes, I mean, you're right. I mean, coming from a very structured environment to and creating a startup, I mean, yes, the thought is to kind of replicate everything, but practically it's not possible. But two things which I think which are really good that we at least consciously we are trying to sort of replicate in our organization is one is process. So I mean, you really need to have a process if you want to be scalable and you want to
Correct.
deliver quality. Otherwise, it can get out of hand very quickly. So you have to kind of have the process to deliver. And secondly, I would say what I saw in, these large organizations that I worked with is that, this invest a lot of effort, energy, time in people,
Right.
nurturing people. So there'll be these platforms to connect, coach,
Right.
collaborate, celebrate, so, and that's exactly what I think we are also trying to bring in analytics. And we're trying to give a platform where there's two-way communication, it's open culture, there's a lot of celebration, rewarding,
Right.
coaching, not giving up on people. So we're trying to kind of replicate that people focus, here. That's
Actually,
what.
that was my next question, right? When you talk about in startups, you generally have all the people aligned to a mission, right? Or, everybody celebrates the wins that we have. So, how do you basically get freshers and experienced people who join you to in that zone where they are aligned to your mission, they are aligned to overall company's mission, and every time a team basically achieves something good, everybody is trying to push each other and then make sure the entire company actually is in a position to win all the time, right? How do you align your freshers and experienced professionals to the mission that you have in your organization?
So I think it starts with hiring the right people, right? And a long time back, I had come across this hiring pyramid, which
Okay.
is like the base of the pyramid starts with attitude.
Right.
Then it's reliability and resilience. Then it's coachability or teachability, followed by skill, experience, and leadership, right? So whether it's an experienced, we're hiring an experienced, or we're hiring a fresher, it starts with that base, which is the attitude,
Yes.
reliability, coachability. Because even experienced people, when they come into a new organization, not might be a startup, might not be a startup, there's certain things you need to unlearn.
Right.
Right. So you need to be open for that. So I think if you have these base of the pyramid wala qualities,
Right.
the top one will follow
Exactly.
eventually. So I think getting like-minded people, getting people who share that enthusiasm to build something, I think that's what's common between the.
Wow. I think the pyramid analogy is a super analogy. A lot of people would gain from it, definitely. Are there certain green flags, which you look for in candidates? If I see something in this candidate, this particular aspect, if I see, then this is surely a good hire for us. Or, I would probably push him to the next round, etc. Are there certain green flags?
Absolutely. And I'm sure everybody will have their own personal, there's nothing
Exactly.
right or wrong here. But I think personally, I mean, what's most important is, or what shows as a green flag to me is, how did a person perform in a pressure situation or a difficult situation? And was it just that he spotted the fire, or was he also he found the fire extinguisher to douse it? you
Wow.
know so I think that's I would say is one of the things which I mean, so many interviews we do, and if somebody kind of shares that, hey, I found this problem, and then I also worked with the team to kind of resolve it, so that kind of is a green flag right away. um, the other point, if the green flag that I would say is honesty.
Uh,
You know, so fine, I have a weakness, but this is what I do to turn it around into a strength. Or I goofed up. You
hmm,
know, I mean, we all goof up. So rather than saying that, hey, I have never goofed up, I don't have a weakness, it's okay to admit that I goofed up, but I learned from it. And this is so I think that's a green flag.
great.
um, and the second and the third point is like, the exposure and how flexible the person has been in his role. Like, has he done some initiatives? Has he tried to go beyond his own, like the routine to-do list?
Right.
So, and value adds
Because in
matter.
startups, I believe, this is something you need a lot, that people should be, I would obviously expect somebody to be a specialist somewhere, but to he or he should be open to be a generalist, because a lot of times other teams would need your help equally, right? And that is where you generally contribute a bit more than your standard to-do list to the startup.
Right. And in fact, good you brought up that, journalist and this thing, because, there is something called generalized specialist. And
Right.
these are called T-shaped.
Correct.
T-shaped specialist,
Yeah,
so
point.
you kind of have these one or two core skills, and then you
Correct.
have a range of complementary skills, which
Correct.
is covering the breadth. And then you
Correct.
also have the openness to work across, and you have a knowledge of a way of working around those skills. So I think yes, that's a big plus point to for a startup to have these kind of T-shaped professionals.
Right. Right. And now coming to the red flags, right? Are there certain things that if you spot in an interview, it's a straight no and you don't even want to go forward?
Yeah, I mean, and my HR would vouch for it. I do that all the time. So, one thing which really is a red flag is false claims. Um, Whether it's, on your resume or when you are speaking and you're talking about your experience. A lot of times, we come across candidates who would claim that they, especially in tech, you kind
Right.
of get that a lot, that
Right.
they would claim they have worked on certain technology or certain types of projects, but eventually it comes out. And let's
Correct.
say even if it doesn't come out in the interviewing process and they come on board during the probation period, it will come out.
Right.
So I think that's definitely a red flag. The other bit that I would probably call a red flag is ineffective communication. And that's nothing to do with language. But
Hmm.
it's like, for example, a lot of time I see that, people are not able to articulate what work they are doing.
I
And
understand.
it's not, they're not fibbing, but they're not able to communicate. So that
Correct.
kind of, you feel, because ultimately we do work in a cross-functional environment. Now, if you're not able to communicate, then that
It
kind
becomes
of
right.
difficult.
But
And
but but
another, yeah.
yeah, just a small point, considering that it's a very important point that you brought up. We see this a lot where communication becomes a challenge. Do you think, as an organization, also, if we basically break those barriers of languages, people kind of get into the zone where they are able to communicate better, especially in the languages they are more comfortable in?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's why I said at the beginning, it's nothing to do with language. See,
Correct.
communication many times is misinterpreted as
English.
language,
Yeah, yeah.
English, but
Especially
that's
here. Yeah.
not true. Yeah, that's not true. I mean, in our organization, in fact, many of our managers, they are more comfortable in Hindi, and
Oh,
they are leading a team of 50 people,
great.
so it is about how you're articulating your thoughts, how you have comprehended something and you're communicating, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that I think, and that's a skill which can be learned, I feel.
Exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, yeah.
Sorry, and you were talking about the third point. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, and then another point. Now, in certain situations it might not be a red flag, but so it is job too much job hopping. And I know today's Gen Zs, they like to kind of in the move in, move out, which is fine if you have a valid reason for it. But I think just because you want to kind of get a pay hike, so you kind of jump every 3 months and you try to get those pay hikes without really building something
Something.
in your portfolio, I think that's a
Correct.
red flag too. Yeah.
Great, great, great. Yeah, awesome. Considering that you are doing something in computer vision also and AI, how do you think AI would probably change all these roles or jobs which we have today, or probably which we had 1 year back, right? How do you think in next 3 to 5 years the entire job diaspora would be, especially in your field where you're talking about core AI, computer vision solutions, etc.?
Yeah, no, I mean, see, people are saying AI will replace humans. I personally do not believe that. It will always be augmented. I think AI is effective as an augmented.
Right.
So, but it will make jobs easier. It will make lives easier. Today we
Right.
have a chat GPT, I mean, I can create a presentation in minutes. But
Right.
however, I keep telling this to my team also, that it's not that, you just type something in chat GPT and you get that as an output. First, apply your brain, think about what is it that you want, then ask pointed questions to chat GPT. The output you'll get will be much more relevant.
Correct.
So it's a combination of human and AI. But yes, there will be lot of, like, even in operations, there would be use cases like, whether you're cutting down the manual effort, you're automating things. For example, in retail these days, we have a use case of, that if a shelf, it
Mhm.
doesn't have the products anymore, like inventory stock.
Right.
So
Correct.
then there is an alert. Similarly, if there's an anomaly detection, or there's a compliance breach, somebody is supposed to be wearing headgear or a helmet while working at a construction site and is not. So then
Mhm.
a real-time alert goes
Right.
to the right people, relevant action can be taken before any tragedies occur. So these kind of use cases will definitely, be there,
Mhm.
and they'll make operations more efficient. They will
Right.
kind of ensure better compliances. They'll ensure better customer service. Like we have one of our clients, retail clients. They want to know that how effectively their staff is engaging with
Okay.
the customer,
Right.
right? And one good thing about what the work that we do, the computer vision, is it runs on camera, right? And
Right.
cameras are like your very good collection data collection source because they are running all the time. But
Right.
what AI does is it will only pick those events of interest, and not
Correct.
that tons of footage nobody would see, but it has the
Correct.
capability of picking up the event of interest and then throwing up the right alerts or right insights which you can use to improve your way of working. So
Correct.
AI is definitely here to stay, but
Great.
with the
So
humans.
obviously with the humans, right? Because you need some kind of guardrails, otherwise it would very quickly go out of hand, right? So for all the freshers, who are just graduates or maybe graduating next year, if they want to, get into AI, if they want to do roles in companies like yours, right? What are those key mindsets and skills that they should focus on, right?
I think first and foremost, which I believe very strongly in, and I try to share that with my team also every now and then, is that customer obsession. You have to have empathy for the customer because ultimately what you're creating is to solve his pain. And if you
Right.
don't understand his pain, you are not solving anything. So it
Yes.
doesn't matter what you deliver, right?
Right.
So I think customer obsession, you when you work for a startup and for that matter anywhere, I mean you need to have customer obsession. Um, I mean, there's a Jeff Bezos saying that, the best products have come from the most difficult customers because of
Right.
the difficult customers, right?
Right.
So that's one. The other thing is be resourceful because as we already spoke about that, we startups are lean teams,
Right.
so be resourceful, find ways of getting things done, and that'll always get you noticed.
Correct.
And I think lastly, it's like take ownership. Every problem, make it your own and
Correct.
solve it like your own. Yeah.
Right. So, you have probably, considering that even in MNCs, you obviously face situations which have, I would say, most of them are high priority, or a lot of them, impact on scale is huge, considering, they generally do bigger contracts, bigger, most of the projects we used to do in Accenture were government contracts, etc. So the repercussions of something going wrong was always huge, right? So in these tough situations, when you are handling a problem where the repercussion could be huge, can you tell me certain points or stories where something somebody did was of so good, or it was operationally so excellent that it really made a difference, so that people who are looking at something like this, or freshers who are looking at something like this, would be able to associate that if we approach a certain situation in this particular way, we might be able to get an answer, or we might be in a position that actually helps the audiences or the customers or the people who we are eventually serving via our product.
Right. And I mean it's everywhere, daily you come across opportunities to create value.
Correct.
And that situation could end up being bad, but you control it with either good execution, good process, good product. And
Hmm.
I mean, I can probably talk about my current only right now. And see, it's nothing to do with in a multinational, the impact will be huge. Even here, I'm telling you, like in a startup, if
Mhm.
today we deliver a bad product, I think it's more kind of detrimental, as I
I agree.
said, because you can't recover from it. Once your name gets spoiled, it gets spoiled. So
Right.
one of the things, I mean, a few years back when we started, we had this thing that when every time a customer would come to us, they would have two key apprehensions. That one was how fast can you deploy, So
Right.
let's say it's a retail chain and they have 500 stores. They had
Hmm.
550 plus stores,
Uh-huh.
and they wanted it to deploy our solution. We had done a POC. They were okay with, the what
Yeah.
they were concerned now that, hey, I mean, how do you deploy it so quickly? Can you? And then
Correct.
the second concern, which is typically there, is can I trust your data?
Right.
Right, because fine, you've done one small POC for a 15-day, it doesn't tell me much. But how can my ground level teams they trust this data on which we will be operating? So for that, what the team, my team, and we all what we did is we've created a very foolproof automated workflow
Okay. Wow.
where you kind of there are various phases of that
Hmm.
getting a store onboarded. So it
Okay.
starts with installing our device, then it's configuring, then there's some bit of QA audits which are done, and then the dashboard setup, and then so we've kind of made it like phase wise, clear cut
Mhm.
roles. It's automated, and
Okay.
everybody knows what's to be done. Their KPIs are linked to that. There's a set turnaround time for each. And as a result, we were able to deliver those 500 plus stores within a span of 2 to 3 months.
Wow.
And so it's like an assembly line. We know that
Mhm.
once this thing has come into the workflow, it will get live.
Correct.
Right. And obviously, that's kind of got fine-tuned over the years.
Perfect.
And regarding the other apprehension which the clients had around trust, so we
Mm-hmm.
did two things. One is, there was a help desk that we set up,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of any query that the customer had, the team gives prompt response. And again, there's a clear definition of which kind of issue goes to which team. So it
Right.
automatically goes wherever it has to go. There are escalation points.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing which we did was that, on the product front, we ensured that half the questions
Are auto
regarding
sorted.
data trust are answered right on the dashboard. So we
Right.
started showing visual proof there. So they would half the time their query will get answered there itself. They
Correct.
would see a proof and it'll get answered. So the outcome of that has been, that obviously we deployed faster and all that. But now the same clients, they have actually now become who had apprehensions are now recommending us. They are like our brand ambassadors who are recommending us to other brands in the industry. So I think that's really like a great feeling.
Sorry. The same clients as where we were.
Yeah, so the same clients are now actually recommending us to different brands in the industry, right? So they
Correct.
have actually become our brand ambassadors. And this is again it's not a single person's effort.
Right.
Everybody in the team, they have come up with different scenarios. Hey, in this scenario, this step failed. Let's improve this workflow. Let's improve this workflow. So we've done that, and
Wow.
yeah.
I think this is a classic example, where probably a product plus a service guided by a checklist would solve your problem. And generally, what people think is all the time they think of a product. But actually, if you start with a service and start automating parts of it into the product itself, you eventually
Right.
land to a place where the service component goes down a lot.
Correct. And I think that's one of our USPs, that we are the only one of the providers who give these service levels. And in fact, we don't have an army of account managers serving our clients. We have around 35 plus clients right now live. And we don't have an army of account managers. It's just these processes which are working.
Wow. Wow. But
Yeah.
when we were actually explaining all this, everything that came to my mind was an airport where everything happens in a sequence, everything happens via a checklist, everybody goes by a
Yeah.
book. That's a brilliant way to execute it. Wow. You also spoke about one of the red flags being where a person would probably keep on hopping jobs just for a pay hike or something like that, right?
Hmm.
So, what would be that one advice you would want to give to early career professionals so that they eventually build meaningful careers instead of just landing multiple jobs throughout their journey?
Right, right. Yeah, so I mean, the first thing is to realize that don't focus on paychecks at this point in your career. I think that's very important.
Correct.
Focus on building skills, focus on creating value, focus on becoming that T-shaped professional that we spoke about, right?
Right.
And generally, as a professional, I mean, you can be in one of the four zones, like comfort zone, fear zone, learning zone, or growth zone.
Correct.
Right? Fine, at some point in your careers, you will be in each for a short period of time,
Hmm.
and it's perfectly all right. But I think don't linger on too much in the comfort and fear zone, especially.
Correct.
Uh, Keep moving on. Be confident, take risks, don't be afraid, try out, fail, learn. It'll not be a straight line journey. It'll be a loop journey, where you kind of make a mistake, fail, again try, fail, again feel very ruffled, again get up, and then finally you'll get it right. So, and don't be too much in the comfort zone because then you stop your growth. So
Exactly.
I think keep moving on from these fear and comfort zones to the learning, and finally you will be in the growth zone.
Wow. I think that's an awesome advice. Uh, I think that is it. Thank you so much, Neerja. Thank you so much for your time.